Okay, so we're just going to spool it up. So we're going to take off our throttle hold. Make sure you're in normal flying mode. Double check your controls and we'll spool it up. As you come up to halfway, you'll notice that the heli will possibly try and turn left or right. So you need to correct it with tail control, see, like that. So as you come up, and we'll just bring it a little bit more, you've got to kind of anticipate a bit of tail pull and also a bit of right cyclic as it comes off, like so. Just get her up out of the wash. Bring it back a little bit. So then practice landing it as well. It'll get a little bit unstable in the wash. You just got to let it off again. So bring it up again. Watch your tail. And then get it under control. Take it up a bit. Just don't try not to let it drift too much. You can bring it back. So like as it's trying to drift off on that 45, I pull back on 45 and let it come back and kind of opposite the angle that it's moving. So it moves forward. I'm going to be pulling back and then back to centre. Otherwise it'll just keep coming back like this. Okay, so you've got to make sure you add that on. So we're just going to drop it down again carefully and try and make sure your tail doesn't go down as you drop it. You want to try and get it the nose kind of forward a little bit as it gets on the ground. If you hit the tail, it's going to strike on a torque tube and it's going to blow it to bits. So take it up and you just want to be ready for whatever action it's going to do. But on a flybar helicopter, it will try and automatically try and do this. I'll show you. This is a flybarless, but on a flybar helicopter, it'll automatically do this. It'll drift across like that. Get it back again. Normally, I'll exaggerate it, so don't just ignore my sticks. A flybarless helicopter will automatically try and go like this, like that. So what you've got to try and do with a flybar helicopter, get it back under control again, is as you take off and it gets light on the skids, see it's getting light there, see? Then you try and add a little bit of right cyclic to get it up and then get it up off the ground. Otherwise, if you don't take it up, it'll tip over on its own skid. And that's what causes a lot of crashes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to slowly start looking at moving on to nose left, because that's my preferred orientation for side orientations. So what we do is we slowly give it a bit of left rudder, and you're trying to actually add, you're doing corrective cyclic to keep it hovering at the same time. And just take it to about 45 degrees. Now if you turn the controller or your radio towards the helicopter, it's back into tail in, sorry. So it's kind of just like you're just turning around and it's just like flying it nose in, but basically you're just standing towards it. Okay, so if you get scared, you can either turn it or you can just quickly bring the tail around. So in saying that, what we've got to do also is we've got to plan on those bailout manoeuvres. So if you turn your tail into 45, if you're feeling uncomfortable, you're going to be turning to 3 o'clock to get it back the other way. Okay? So if you go 45 again, if you get scared, just turn it straight back to pull 3 o'clock rudder and get it back to the centre so it's tail in again. Alright, so just bring it into land again. So see, I've got that 3 foot square up the front there in the helipad. That's what I kind of try and teach myself to discipline myself to stay in. Okay, so we'll take it off again and we'll just go into, so straight up into 45. We'll bring it back. So I'm not doing big movements, as you can see, I'm just doing little wee corrections. As you can see, I'm in beautiful wind conditions. There's 0 wind or very, very light breeze. So it's actually behaving quite nicely today. And I'm just to drop that down is 1 millimetre of collective. See, it's rising up slowly, or just, if I drop it down 1 click, see how it falls slowly? And then when it gets into the cushioning zone, it's different, it actually will hover there. But when it comes up, out of the air cushion's about the 1.5 lengths of your rotor, your total rotor width. So as I come down into that, so it's actually kind of just hovering there, and it's slowly falling, it's actually in the hover into the air cushion there, and it's starting to push up again. So it'll drop down, and see how it's pushing up again? That's it, and then it'll drop down again. See, it's just bobbing ever so slightly, just about a foot. Because once it gets down into the cushioning stage, it becomes a little bit more unstable. So if you get kind of scared, bring it back into tail in, and then landing it, you just want to basically get it, and you're doing little circular movements on your cyclip just to pull it back into where you want it to land, because you're controlling it, remember? Oh, bit untidy, anyway. Let's get it right in there, and just take button down off. So take off again, bit of right cyclip on a fly bar. This one here, fly barred pretty good. So bring it back. So basically if you're coming backwards, you've got to push forwards again to get it to stop, and then centre. So forwards, back, centre. Back. When you want it to slow down, forward, centre. Okay. So let's land it again. See what sort of time we've got left. 2 minutes. Great. Okay, so now, so as you pull up, so I'm only like playing with my throttle, my collective controls, which does your pitch and throttle at the same time, probably about 1 millimetre or 1 click to 2 clicks maximum. So that's 1 click up and it rises, 1 click down and it comes down. So if you bring it down too fast, it's going to fall too fast, see? So you don't want to panic too much. You're talking 1 click at a time basically. Same with the cyclic, it's very, very sensitive. I've got 20% expo on my elevator and my aileron servos, and that gives me a nice feel for myself. If I have it higher than that, it just becomes too spongy for me, and I'm start getting messy because I'm overcorrecting to get it sorted, because it's not responding as I like. So basically once you're comfortable with 45 left, then you can just start looking at total left. And if you freak out, straight 3 o'clock and then get it back to a hover. Okay, so you can bring it to 45, slowly rotate it around. And that's how you're getting your orientation sorted. It's coming towards me, and if you freak out, bring it right back to where you started. So you don't want to drop it down, because if you drop the throttle, it'll fall out of the sky quite quickly, see? So you want to be very, very cautious on dropping the collective right down. Okay, so you're talking, like I said, 1 millimetre at a time. Okay, so you just sit there and nose left until you got it sorted. You know, try and keep it within that 3 foot radius. Not like that. Okay, if you freak out, bring it around. You know, just so you're comfortable. So yeah, that kind of like covers that, and then you can start working on your nose right. So this is my worst manoeuvre, orientation. It shouldn't be any different, but it is for some reason. I struggle with right. You guys might find right's good and left bad. Okay, so that's, and then you basically go right completely to nose right. That's not too bad. Freak out, bring it to 9 o'clock to get it to tail round. So if you're over here, bail out 9 o'clock, throttle up. Okay, don't go throttle down or it'll hit the deck and you'll end up stripping you're causing damage. So your altitude's your friend, so if you start going a bit wayward, just up a little bit and bring it back to tail in, and then come back and correct it. Okay, and then once you've got this orientation here sorted out, what you can do, especially tail in, you can start working a little bit forward, bring it back a little bit, take it to the side a little bit. You're working with your throttle, and then bring it back again. Just play with it. Just slowly to the left. Bring it to a stop. Hover it over there. Bring it back. Bring it to a stop. Hover it there. Then bring it back. I'm only doing very little movement to nurse that back into the area, and then bring it back into a hover. Okay, so once you've got that sorted, try and land it back where you want. So, and then throttle hold on. Okay, so that pretty much covers off the a little bit of orientation flying. We'll go into nose in on the next one, on the next battery.